We're pleased to cap off today's edition of the show with the Executive Director of Detroit History Tours, Baily Sisoy joins us now on the MegaCast. Baily, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. So tell us a little bit about Detroit History Tours. What is it? How does it impact the community and help people learn about the great history we have here, not only in the city of Detroit, but in the metro area as well?
Absolutely. So as a company, we're focused on historical tours of Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck. So we stay within the borders of the city of Detroit by and large, offering tours by bus, car, foot, and boat. We've been around since 2015, and we're very proud to say we were recognized by the Michigan Historical Society as Business of the Year for 2021.
That's very nice. Congratulations. We're joined, of course, by Baily Sisoy. She is the Executive Director of Detroit History Tours with us on the MegaCast. And Baily will be sharing some local history coming up tonight, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock via Zoom with the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. And you'll be talking about the impact that women had during World War II as workers, people like Rosie the Riveter and others that had a really big impact in manufacturing of military vehicles, a lot of which happened here, of course, in the Motor City during that time. So give us a little bit of a preview, just how great of a factor and an unknown factor in the grand scheme of things in history, in many cases, did women have on the front lines here in the U.S. domestically for the war efforts during World War II?
Absolutely. So on the home front, women had to take up the jobs and fill the voids left by men who were either drafted or conscripted into armed services. So it's important to remember in history, it's not like closing a book and starting a totally new book when different eras change. It's more like shifting from a chapter to a chapter within a book. So it's important to remember that as we're getting into Lend-Lease, President Roosevelt's great deal with Winston Churchill to trade lucrative land leases for World War I surplus and a promise to build for World War II as early as 1939, long ahead of the isolationist party's collapse and the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we're in the Great Depression. So in Detroit, when we start becoming the arsenal of democracy and our factories start shifting to war production, for the first couple of years, specifically under the Lend-Lease agreement, that's men who are entering these factories sort of coming out of the Great Depression. It is the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the U.S. entering what becomes World War II, and the draft and conscription of those men back out of the factories that leaves a void. But this time, unlike during the Great Depression, we still need the products. We need the medicine. We need the radar. We need the tanks and the airplanes and the Jeeps. And in order to keep building, women get this really amazing moment in American history where they're able to come in. Colloquially, they are come to be known as Rosie the Riveters. And Rosies are defined by the dictionary as any woman who takes on a job traditionally held by a man under Lend-Lease or World War II in support of the war effort. So that's everything from the women working at Parke-Davis, the great pharmaceutical company, to women on the lines at Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, producing everything from Liberator bombers to Sherman tanks. And because of their effort, because of their unbelievable work, these women go on to not only earn a space and a really important honor in American history, but Rosie the Riveters earned the Army Navy E for Excellence Awards across many, many factories in the U.S., but in large part here in the Metro Detroit area. We talk about Ford and Chrysler, Hudson, and Carhartt all earning this huge distinction of an Army Navy E for Excellence. And in many cases, based on the work of a sort of workforce that was suddenly, if not majority, at least heavily female for the first time in American history. So it's this really wonderful era, not only for women and their advancements in the workforce, but also for women and their patriotic duty to this nation.
We're joined by Baily Sisoy. She is the Executive Director of Detroit History Tours, and of course she's talking about the impact of Rosie's here in the Detroit area for the on the manufacturing side and on the front lines of preparing materials for World War II or during World War II. You can learn more about the Rosies tonight in a Zoom seminar with the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. That is free of charge. That'll happen tonight from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock via Zoom. Learn more information on that by going to the West Bloomfield Township Public Library's website at wblib.org. Again, we're joined by Baily Sisoy Moore, the Executive Director of Detroit History Tours, and recently your tall ship tours on the Detroit River returned. They were going on from September 10th to 26th. Of course, that time has now passed, but what are some other events or other special tours that are being held right now by your organization?
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about them. So we had an absolute blast with our tall ship tours. It was wonderful sailing on the Detroit River, and nothing beats a historic schooner on the river. However, coming up in October, we have our Spirited Detroit tours. These are bus tours, vaccinated clients only, please, because it is a recirculated air bus. All of our staff vaccinated and ready to go. We'll be covering all of the spooky, strange, weird Halloween time of the year topics, from cholera epidemics in Detroit's history that featured mass graves, all the way through James Baily, a born Detroiter who goes on to be Barnum and Baily, the Baily of Barnum and Bailey circuses. So we're going to cover the Benny and Evangelista murders still unsolved from the 1920s. We're going to cover the occult, the Detroit werewolf, you name it, the scary, creepy, weird stuff in Detroit history. That is the topic of this tour. There'll even be a stop for refreshments and a little snack in a very haunted neighborhood of Detroit before we talk about Harry Houdini and his record-setting attempts off the top of the Fife building here in the city. So all those things you start getting excited about when the weather starts getting cooler, we bundle that into a 3.5-hour bus tour. It leaves and returns to the Ford Paquette Avenue factory, a very haunted location in its own right. And we don't do tours where someone's going to jump out and scare you. That's not us. But this gives us as historians the opportunity to really share those spooky, spine-tingling historical stories in a fun Halloween atmosphere.
We're joined by Baily Sisoy Moore. She is the Executive Director of Detroit History Tours with us today on the MegaCast. And what's great about right now is that we're having a lot of these in-person experiences return to the regular form, or some form at least, and giving people that ability to tangibly see these places of history or interact with these artifacts of our local history here in the Detroit area. But people also have their concerns. The Delta variant is still going around, and we're still very much in the thick of things here in the COVID-19 pandemic. Is your organization, Detroit History Tours, continuing to do online events as well?
That's a great question. So COVID is incredibly difficult because everyone has to judge for themselves, what makes sense, what their tolerance of risk is. We as a company have said we're a fully vaccinated staff and crew, and only vaccinated individuals are welcome on our buses. On open air walking tours, we welcome everyone, as well as on our open air boat tours. Because, however, we know that doesn't cover everybody who might be interested in a day out. We do offer Zoom lectures. This evening we'll be with the library, which is a lot of fun, and we have a few more of those coming up over the next week and a half. And throughout the general month, generally you can find us on Zoom lectures 4 to 5 times at local facilities and through local cultural organizations. Additionally, we've built an app, and we're so excited about it. You can download it for smartphones, Android or iPhone. It's right in the App Store. It's Detroit History Tours. When you download the free app, it shows you a catalog of tours. These are all tours that you take using your smartphone. They range from $5 to $20. Once you buy a tour, just like an audiobook, you own it for life. And it is GPS navigated. So using your phone, it'll tell you, turn right, turn left, go ahead 100 yards, stop at the traffic light. When you get to the location, on your phone, historical images will start popping up for you to scroll through, and the voice of one of our guides is auto-triggered to tell you all about the location you're in. So this time of year, I highly recommend our Harry Houdini in Detroit app tour. It can be done any time of day or night, any day of the week. Again, it's a $20 download, and you can take off and enjoy it in whatever COVID pod you've established for yourself. It works walking, it works driving, it even works on the electric scooters we have downtown. And if Harry Houdini isn't your jam this time of year, we've got architecture tours, we've got tours based on Detroit from our founding through statehood, 1701 to the 1840s. It's just a blast, and maybe a little bit of a silver lining of the pandemic that we're able to reach wider audiences through programs like Zoom, but also through building this digital app for smartphones.
We're joined by Baily Sisoy Moore. She's the executive director of Detroit History Tours with us today on the MegaCast. As she mentioned, they have a new app, the Detroit History Tours app, as exactly what it is called, Detroit History Tours. And of course, you can learn more information about the app and about Detroit History Tours programming by going to DetroitHistoryTours.com. And Baily, just a few more minutes with you. So I also want to talk about another service through the Detroit History Tours. Of course, a lot of these events people can attend without having to be a member of the organization or anything like that. But there are also special access to certain events and certain places and other information as well through the Detroit History Club. So take a few minutes and tell us about the Detroit History Club and what benefits people get by becoming a member of the club.
Thank you. So in 2016, we decided as a company that we didn't just want to do tours, that some educational opportunities, some chances to learn actually came better as events. So as an example, we've done things like a midnight scavenger hunt of the Detroit Institute of Arts. We've done a Halloween history ball at the Detroit Club, a private members only club. Membership in the Detroit History Club is $5 a calendar year. We have not operated events in 2020 or 2021. However, we're super excited to announce that in 2022, the Detroit History Club will be back in action. We'll have a series of lectures, which we've become rather known for. They're called Interesting People Reading Interesting Things. We bring in a speaker. We have them present to the group. We enjoy some mimosas and donuts. It's generally a weekend morning. We also will be bringing back some of our large-scale events and have a few scavenger hunts and a few parties in the works for 2021. We hope we'll see guests at. The only rule to joining the Detroit History Club, besides the $5 a year payment, is you have to be a supporter of the city of Detroit in words, actions, and deeds.
Well, that's great, and we have a lot of those here in the local area, so that should qualify. Plenty of people to join the Detroit History Club. Learn more information at DetroitHistoryTours.com. Baily, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, and I hope you have a great week.